Find out how you can get involved in Carnival Bahamas 2015 and how this will impact those inner city communities. All that and more in the Bahamas tonight.
Also, the latest on the landfill fires.
And our water polo team gets ready for Carifta. The Bahamas Tonight starts now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
Get ready for Carnival Bahamas 2015. Good evening, I'm Andrew Knowles.
And good evening, Bahamas. I'm Altaviz Munnings. Minister of Culture Dr. Daniel Johnson revealed that the festivities will bolster the economy and partner with hotels, airlines, existing businesses, and Junkanoo groups to make this upcoming event a success. Tonight, our Janaea Noel Ferguson tells us that a festival commission has already been established to lay out the blueprint. And by this time next year, the wheels will be in motion to anticipate this historic moment for the Bahamas.
Minister of Youth, Sports and Culture Dr. Danny Johnson says Carnival Bahamas 2015 is about to take over the nation. As Carnival Trinidad recently wrapped up their annual event, Johnson says there are lessons to be learned about how the Bahamas can make its own carnival a new enterprise.
Really exciting. I mean, really very exciting. The numbers on this make sense of our tourist industry, make sense of a lot of things that we do in and around the cultural industry, and organizes once and for all a central authority to guide and govern the development of the creative arts industry.
Johnson furthered that the Carnival Style Showcase is a test of the business model for multiple events.
We'll have our A-list festivals, maybe 3 huge festivals. Look at Rumfest several weeks ago. We'll have B-class festivals, which may be smaller community events, like a Fox Hill Festival. And you'll have C-class festivals, which small communities may just run. The trick with this model is that small groups will own the model, they'll own the festival, and they will see the economic impact of this model is about to bring about what I call cultural sustainability.
In order for the festival to be a success, Dr. Danny Johnson said that we must first look at improving the quality of life in the over-the-hill communities.
In order to undergo a cultural renaissance, culture is much more than just Junkanoo. Undergo a cultural renaissance, you have to look at where these people came from, reset the whole stage for what it could be. And historic Nassau could be an art and culture district where young professionals like yourself, instead of battling traffic from way out east and way out west, would live around Fort Fincastle, Fort Hill, Mason's Addition, Lewis Street, Marcus Street, Farm Road, Blue Hill Road. But we got to get the area up and prepared, and then the people will come in to run the economy. This is a huge economy. We're looking at several $100 million of economic impact.
The campaign for Carnival 2015 is expected to be launched during the month of May. Janaea Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
In other news this evening, the security firm tasked with monitoring suspected criminals out on bail is calling on the courts to attach additional restrictions for some offenders in an effort to curb crime. Fern Carey tells us more.
In the midst of growing public concern over serious crimes being committed by persons wearing monitoring devices, ICS, a security firm which monitors some 400 offenders on a 24-hour basis, is calling for the courts to establish stricter conditions for accused persons in an effort to curb crime. That includes inclusion and exclusion zones and a curfew. ICS Interim Manager Gary Gonzalez explains.
To impose restrictions on them, and when we say by inclusion zones, we mean their home confinement area, and curfew, a specific time that they have to remain in this confinement area. And exclusion zones would basically be areas that they're not allowed to go into, areas that they're prohibited from. And that can be a range of high crime areas, victim areas, stuff of that nature. And
regarding the concern about offenders placing foil over the monitoring device, Gonzalez confirmed it does not interrupt the service as technology is embedded in the device, which still allows them to pinpoint the person's location. Meantime, she is also recommending a prison diversion program in the future.
Just how a person would not be, the case manager would decide, or the courts would decide that this person is to be sentenced. That sentence would be the electronic monitoring program. So that'll be considered a diversion program to which they still contribute to society. They still check in with their case manager, the / probation officer, as they should, and ensure that they are completely compliant on the program. For where they fail to comply with those bail conditions as set by the court, as imposed by the court, then the case will be referred back to the court in reference to them not being in compliance.
The contract for electronic monitoring will come up for bid next month, and ICS is confident that they will regain that contract.
We intend to rebid for the contract, and we are confident that we will retain this contract.
Meantime, police have taken additional steps to shore up their electronic monitoring program. Fern Geary, Citizens Network News.
In an effort to mitigate the ongoing problems at the city dump, Environment Minister Kenrick Dorset said that a private company is due to take over the site by the end of this budget period, but he is hoping to push that date up. He also gave us an update on the recent fires at the dump site, which Dorset said are still burning.
Private company that was going to begin the landfill remediation, for them to look to be on site a little earlier than the end of this fiscal year so they could begin their works. And one of those works is securing the landfill site. As indicated, it's a joint venture between the government and the company, and something that we certainly believe will bode well for the future public health concerns in the area. As it relates to the landfill fire, the landfill fire is 95% out. I was there last evening. There's one spot where there is still some smoke, but I think the recent challenges over the weekend came from the water and sewage, sludge and septic facility, which is not the dump, it's not the landfill. And so I think they're having some ongoing challenges with that. As product is apparently continuing to be placed at that facility, and as a result I think we saw a dark plume of smoke arising from that facility.
And as the government looks to restructure the Bahamas Electricity Corporation, seeking a private company for distribution, Dorset says alternative and recycling energy for the landfill are also on the table, which is expected to produce revenue for the government.
Regard to what was being undertaken with the whole energy sector reform and the proposals being entertained by BEC. What we wanted to do is make sure that that process comes to an end before we advance a structured RFP process for waste to energy. And so at the end of this exercise, that is something that we're going to be looking into. But with respect to the construction of the materials recycling facility and the landfill remediation, which will be underway as a result of this joint venture that we have put in place, I think that the environmental benefits certainly will speak volumes in the fact that we will finally remediate the landfill that has not been attended to for several decades. But also it provides the government a tremendous opportunity to generate revenues from the recyclates, from the waste.
In other news tonight, Minister of Labor Shane Gibson revealed today that an audit of the public service is currently underway to determine strengths and weaknesses in terms of manpower. Minister Gibson pointed out that once all agencies have submitted their reports, the government will then make the next move.
We started the process already, and we've already gotten quite a bit of information from a number of ministries. I'm not sure where we are and if all of the ministries reported in yet, but when I last checked, when they last reported to me, most of the ministries had submitted their information, and they're still waiting on a couple. But they may have submitted it since, and I'm not sure. Shortly, once the audit comes out, then we'll make a decision as to what position we would take.
And now to an update on a developing story we've been following. A meeting was planned with representatives from the Ministry of Labor and the union that represents customs and immigration workers. This comes after customs workers voted in favor of a strike vote and the matter was turned over to the Industrial Tribunal. Now, we reported last week that some customs officers were also sent home for showing up to work outside of the scheduled working hours. Minister of Labor Shane Gibson, however, announced before the weekly cabinet meeting this morning that they're hoping to bring a quick resolution to the matter. But that meeting, scheduled for 10 a.m. yesterday, didn't happen because union representatives, according to Mr. Gibson, didn't show up. Still to come, Abaco residents get ready for a big development.
And water polo players prep for Carifta. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight.
This segment of the news is brought to you by Shell Quality Fuels.